The studio was electric with tension, the air charged with anticipation as viewers across the nation tuned into Capitol Clash Live, the fiery weekly political showdown that had quickly become must-watch television. The night's lineup was particularly combustible. Representative Jasmine Crockett, known for her fearless approach and unapologetic truth-telling, was set to debate Karoline Leavitt, a conservative firebrand and media darling whose rapid political ascent was as controversial as it was swift. Karoline strutted into the studio, flanked by her handlers, her smile wide and camera-ready. She had prepared well, or so she thought. Her team had spent the week drilling talking points, deflection strategies, and counterattacks for anything Crockett might throw her way. After all, she'd been on defense ever since whispers of unethical campaign contributions had begun swirling around her name on political blogs. She didn't think Crockett would bring them up. Not live. Not here. But Jasmine Crockett wasn't one for half measures. From the moment she took her seat across from Leavitt, her demeanor was calm but focused, her eyes sharp with intent. The debate began with standard political jousting, policy disagreements, ideological digs, and a few interruptions. But the tone shifted dramatically just 15 minutes in. Karoline had just finished a rehearsed rant about how her campaign operated with full transparency and unwavering ethics when Jasmine leaned in, her voice low, steady, and suddenly very serious. I find that interesting. Jasmine began, tilting her head slightly, especially considering the paper trail that ties your campaign to Axis Strategies, a so-called consulting firm that has received more than $300,000 in contributions from defense contractors' money that was later traced to your super PAC. The room seemed to freeze. Even the host, veteran anchor Miles Harlan, looked blindsided. Karoline blinked, her perfectly scripted expression momentarily cracking. "That's not true," she said quickly, almost too quickly. "That's misinformation." "Oh, I think the viewers would like to decide that for themselves," Crockett said, as she reached beneath the desk and pulled out a manila folder labeled Exhibit A. The camera zoomed in. The audience gasped. The folder was stuffed with copies of emails, spreadsheets, and flagged financial transfers, all highlighting what appeared to be a coordinated effort to launder contributions through a third-party consulting firm, which then conveniently funded Karoline's political ads and campaign events under the radar. Crockett opened the folder and began to read aloud. July 18th, Axis Strategies receives $125,000 from Hillian Tech, a known defense contractor seeking federal drone surveillance contracts. July 21st, Axis transfers $100,000 to a super PAC supporting your campaign. And July 22nd, you hold a press conference advocating for federal expansion into autonomous drone monitoring. Karoline's face reddened. Her voice rose. "This is nothing but a hit job. A desperate smear campaign by the radical left. Spare us the victim act," Jasmine snapped. "You've been pretending to champion working-class values while quietly selling influence to the highest bidder?" The moderator tried to interject, but the live broadcast had already spiraled into something far beyond a debate. Viewers at home were witnessing something rare, a real-time unraveling of a politician's carefully curated image. Karoline began to stumble through a defensive monologue, citing complex campaign finance regulations and accusing Crockett of taking things out of context. But it was too late. Jasmine flipped the folder again, this time revealing internal memos, some anonymous, others signed submitted by former staffers who had raised concerns and been told to stay quiet or risk termination. At one point, Karoline reached up to adjust her earpiece, clearly receiving urgent instructions from her producer. Her hands trembled slightly. She tried to pivot the discussion to border security, to rising inflation, anything, but Jasmine didn't let go. "You're not just corrupt," Crockett said, locking eyes with her opponent. "You're a danger to democratic accountability." The audience was dead silent, the tension crackling like a wire stretched to its limit. The moderator, unsure how to regain control, quietly gestured toward the control booth, signaling for a commercial break. Cameras faded to black. Karoline slumped back in her chair, her confidence shattered. Her eyes flicked toward the folder. Still resting on the table like a ticking bomb, she had come to debate. Instead, she'd been exposed, live, raw, and undeniable. And Jasmine Crockett. She didn't even look smug. She looked focused, like a woman who knew this wasn't the end of something, but only the beginning. The morning after the explosive live broadcast, Washington, D.C. woke up in chaos. Asterisk, every major news outlet had the same headlines splashed across their digital front pages. Karoline Leavitt exposed live TV bombshell rocks Capitol Hill. Cable networks ran the footage on repeat. Social media was ablaze with outrage, disbelief, and memes, lots of them. Screens everywhere played the exact moment Jasmine Crockett opened that damning folder and dropped the scandal like a hammer. Asterisk, overnight, the hashtag Karoline Leaks surged past 1 million mentions. Political analysts, ethics lawyers, and campaign finance experts flooded the airwaves, dissecting every detail from the documents Crockett revealed. The shock wasn't just in the scandal itself, was how calm and prepared Crockett had been, how confidently she'd laid out the evidence, and how visibly Karoline Leavitt unraveled in real time. Asterisk, by noon, things had gone from bad to catastrophic. For Leavitt, asterisk, multiple watchdog organizations filed formal ethics complaints with the House Ethics Committee and the Federal Election Commission. Within hours, the Office of Congressional Ethics released a statement saying they were reviewing the matter. Leavitt's office tried to spin the situation, calling the broadcast a planned political ambush, but their press release lacked substance and, more tellingly, came with no rebuttal to the documents Crockett had shared. Asterisk, behind closed doors, GOP leadership was furious. Leavitt had become a liability overnight. Whispers of distancing and internal investigations filled Capitol hallways. Several high-profile donors publicly paused their financial support, saying they would wait for clarity before contributing. Again, asterisk, as the storm around Leavitt grew, Jasmine Crockett was everywhere. Asterisk, she appeared on Morning Joe, The View, and The Redoubt, each time reiterating a consistent message. This isn't just about one person. It's about holding every elected official accountable, regardless of party. If you're taking money under the table and lying to the people, I will call you out. Asterisk, public sentiment quickly rallied around her. On the ground, supporters organized rallies calling for deeper investigations into campaign corruption. Online, voters across the spectrum praised Crockett's courage. Even some moderate conservatives admitted the scandal was too serious to ignore. Asterisk, inside Leavitt's camp, panic turned to desperation. Asterisk, staffers began resigning quietly. One longtime aide deleted her social media presence entirely and issued a cryptic statement. I can no longer support a system I once believed in. Anonymous sources leaked that Karoline had berated her team after the broadcast, demanding to know why Crockett had that kind of ammo and who had let this slip through the cracks. Asterisk, but the truth was, simple, Crockett had done her homework. She'd quietly compiled months of evidence, corroborated by former campaign insiders and third-party financial analysts. She didn't strike until she had airtight proof. Asterisk, by Friday, the scandal deepened. Asterisk, a whistleblower came forward, confirming the allegations and providing even more damning emails. Between Leavitt's campaign and Axis Strategies LLC, one email, dated September 2024, directly connected Karoline to a meeting with executives from Helion Tech, the defense contractor, at the heart of the scheme. The email explicitly discussed a strategic donation route that would ensure deniability and distance. Asterisk, the public backlash intensified. Protesters gathered outside Leavitt's district office chanting, "Resign now." Meanwhile, her usual allies in the conservative media ecosystem were quietsome, even critical. A prominent right-wing host said during his evening segment, "If this is true, Leavitt's career is over." And indeed, it was beginning to look that way. Karoline canceled all her scheduled appearances. She was spotted twice in public, once at her home, visibly shaken, and once leaving a high-powered law firm known for defending embattled politicians. Reporters hounded her for a comment. Her only response, "This is far from over." But even her defiance lacked conviction. Asterisk, meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett didn't gloat. She got back to work. Asterisk, she used her momentum to reintroduce a bill she'd authored months earlier. The Campaign Integrity Act, aimed at increasing transparency in third-party contributions and banning political consulting firms from accepting defense or pharmaceutical contractor funds without full public disclosure. Asterisk, her colleagues on both sides of the aisle now took the bills seriously. A handful of moderates, sensing the wind shifting, publicly backed her legislation. One even admitted she's done what oversight committees have failed to do for years: hold people accountable with the facts to back it up. Asterisk, in a single week, Crockett had turned a debate into a movement. She didn't just expose Karoline Leavitt shook the foundations of how political funding is handled in D.C. Asterisk. And as investigations widened and more names began surfacing in connection with Axis strategies, Crockett was asked if she had more files, more evidence. Asterisk.